Welcome to Interesting Enough. He's Trey Samuel. I'm Nolan Todd. Thank you guys for joining us once again. I know it's been a couple weeks. We took a week off. We got a bunch of content to get into for you today. Obviously, a lot of basketball. We'll get into some football. We haven't really followed up on too much in the NFL and what's been going on. Before we do that, obviously, if you haven't, please like, subscribe, give us some feedback. We're definitely always reading through those and listening to those. Give us a follow. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Trey, man, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
Been pretty good, man. There's a lot of basketball to watch, so, it's been good.
I know, keeping up with that. I know it's crazy. Like, I didn't realize now that basketball is back with the football, it's kind of overwhelming to me. Like, it's like there's always a game on. There's always something you got to watch.
There's always something.
Yeah, it's always something. And then, of course, headlines always going up. I know, obviously, Trey, we haven't even talked since the top 75. We're going to get into that, some snubs. We're going to get into some of the NBA rule changes, Ben Simmons. But I know you wanted to talk about Zion. And I know you sent me something, the clip that kind of went viral. And you kind of have a hot take. I just want you to kind of be the one to let it out and kind of just go from there.
All right. My whole take when I was talking with you was, I was just saying, Zion in this clip obviously is dealing with his weight issues. And he's had his second, maybe even third lower leg injury, a lower extremity injury, because this one is on his ankle. I was just saying that I don't think once he comes up with his rookie max extension, which he should be available for, I think next year, at least to sign, I just don't think I would sign him to it, because you sign him to upwards of possibly like $200 million for 5 years. And he has this already long injury history, and he doesn't seem like he's able to take care of his weight now when he should be able to when you're younger and when you don't have a big contract in front of you. I was just saying, if I was the Pelicans, I would think about maybe trying to trade him while, his asking price could be kind of high. And he doesn't really seem like he wants to be there. Anyway, some of his comments kind of allude to him wanting to be in New York or a larger market at that.
That's interesting. I mean, first of all, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the first thing I was going to say is what's the alternative. So I'm glad you're mentioning that you'd have to trade him. Like, obviously you just can't let that walk, right? Like, I mean, that goes without saying.
No.
Yeah,
you messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. That goes without saying, right? So he's got to do that. Now, here's the thing that I don't think we're even considering here. He's in New Orleans, right? So, and for people that haven't seen the video, Trey, correct me if I'm wrong, the video just basically looks like Zion running around the court, doing some rehab stuff. He just basically looked like he's at least 300 pounds from what's reported, right?
Yeah, so, at least.
Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. So here's my thing. If he's in the same city, you know what I mean? He plays for the Pelicans. The worst case scenario is he can always just play for the Saints. Like, I'm not really seeing what the issue is at this point, right? He can always play for the Saints and play left tackle. I mean, you got to get your value somehow. If it's not going to be the Pelicans, it's going to be for the city, right? But no, in all seriousness.
Hey, same owner.
Oh, no, you're right. I didn't even think about that. It's actually the same owner. So that actually could happen. And, we just saw Jameis Winston got hurt earlier today. So maybe they could have used him, to be honest. But for real. So, no, but with the Zion thing, and we've talked about this, but there's just no way that they can't give him the extension. I'm telling people this. It doesn't matter if Zion doesn't play for this entire year and even parts of next year. They got to give him the extension, because you don't have any other alternative. Your trade value would be too low. You can't even trade him. I mean, let's not say it would be too low. People would still obviously be making offers for Zion, but he's too significant of a talent to not have. And just by the way, in terms of the franchise, he is the franchise. You don't really have anything else. You're not really selling tickets.
They got Brandon Ingram, and I'm not saying he's Zion, but I mean, he's a young player. He's pretty good.
Well, nobody is going to any games to watch Brandon Ingram. I'm just keeping it up.
But I'm just saying, okay, but hear me out. If Zion's not on the court, nobody's going to any games to watch Zion not on the court.
All right, Trey, we got a couple friends that I won't name their names, but you and I both know. And I saw them go to a Pelicans game. All right, I saw them on their Snapchat story. Trey, there's about 200 people in there. I'm not even exaggerating. I thought it was a preseason game. Like, there is not going to be 200 people when Zion shows up. I mean, it's just a reality. So, I mean, I get what you're saying.
But I'm just saying, like, if he's only going to show up for 10 games a year, is that worth $200 million?
Those 10 games, you're going to make a lot. You could probably make more money in them 10 games of Zion than they can for the rest of the year ticket sales. I'd be actually willing to bet that. Like, I'd be actually willing to bet
that. But it ain't $200 million worth.
But what is I don't know. That's like so nuanced because there's no better alternative. Like, you just have to pay him. Like,
but my thing is, he's not worth the max. With as soon as you come to the table and you say, okay, you're not worth the max, we want to give you this, his team is going to say, well, somebody else to give us the max, so we're not going to sign that.
Which you'd be right. Somebody else will give him the max.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. Listen,
you're just going to lose your franchise.
The Magic will give him the max.
Right. But you just will lose. I mean, if you don't want to lose the
trade.
base.
That's why I said a trade.
No. Because even if you make a trade, I mean, you remember how upset those Pelicans fans were when they traded Anthony Davis. I mean, there's people that still are. I mean, and I know, of course, Anthony Davis wanted out and things like that, so he was a disgruntled employee. He was going to have to move him regardless. But at the same time, he was a disgruntled employee because of everything that had happened up to that point, right? So the Zion thing is I agree, it may be a little different because it's not like Anthony Davis wasn't playing and stuff. I mean, besides him just getting hurt, but he was playing and trying his best. Zion thing is kind of the injuries, but it also just seems like a lack of, I don't know the word I want to fill in here, but I don't want to say effort, but there's been
you kind of ask yourself, does he care?
yeah, right. So, or how much, right? Because, with the weight problem has been something that, I mean, people were keeping an eye on when he was still in college, right? You know what I mean? Just kind of like, hey, he may have to be careful. This may be an issue going forward. And it just kept going. And the only thing that keeps going for Zion is the injuries and the beignets. Like, those are the only thing that keeps going. So it's like, it's the reality. So, I think they're going to pay him regardless. I mean, I'm sure if you had to predict, you put pretty much they are, right?
I think they are going to pay him. I was just saying, if I was the GM or the owner or whoever, I would maybe consider, alternative options. But at the end of the day, I would be leaning towards paying him because you have to. Because if he doesn't, David Griffin's going to get fired.
Well, what would make you not like? Does Zion have to show up for you this season to make you think otherwise, or just I'm guessing mainly just stay healthy, right? Like, not even
I was gonna say just stay healthy. Because if you have another injury, now I'm just kind of like, this is like I said, he's already on his maybe second or third, but now you're like on your third or fourth injury, and they're all lower body injuries, which means you could probably stand to lose some weight.
Dated back since college too. I mean, when he blew out the tire with the shoe. So,
and I'm not too mad at that one because like you said, he blew out the tire. That one was kind of like, eh.
Yeah, that was kind of a freak thing. I mean, I get that. However, it's just, I mean, as to the trajectory, like, we talk about, we're not talking about football right now, but we talk about Tua. I mean, yeah, he had a freak injury where he landed on his hip and had an injury, but it just counts towards the injuries. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how it happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a part of it now. So, that's going to be something that, we'll obviously just have to keep an eye on going forward. I hope, Zion's exciting to watch, right? So, I mean, I hope if anything else, we get to see him, kind of just do his thing.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, Interesting Enough family? Nolan here, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for tuning into us every single week as we give you the best content possible. However, I do have to ask you for one more thing. Come be a part of our family, and not just the Interesting Enough family, the Anchor family, and record a podcast yourself. It's so easy to do. Let me explain. First off, it's completely free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or phone. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it right now. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's right. Real money. Real money. It's everything you need to make a podcast, and it's all in one place. All you got to do is just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Yeah, man. But, obviously transitioning, there's a bunch of stuff I want to get into, Trey, that we haven't covered in a while. But, I know you want to talk about Ben Simmons, but I want to get into the top 75. So obviously for the people that, didn't see, the NBA announced their 75th anniversary team for the NBA being in existence for 75 years. Trey, we've had enough time to see the list, digest the list, hear every medium talk about the list. First, I wanted to ask you your reaction overall to the list. How well, I know it's a difficult task. How well do you think it was done? And then second, I know you probably feel some type of way about some certain snubs, in particular one or former Orlando Magic guy, but wanted to hear who you thought was the biggest snub, and then just
So you already know who that is.
Yes, I already know who that is. There's multiple snubs, but I'll at least give you the floor.
Okay. Well, as far as the list goes, one thing I think people have to remember is that the list wasn't in order. It wasn't like 1 to 75 or who the NBA thinks the greatest player is of all time. It was just the 75 greatest players of all time.
Which people were misconstruing. That's a good point. That's a good point to make. Yeah.
So let's just get that out of the way. Now, with that being said, regardless of how you might feel about some of his antics and his behind the scenes, locker room issues, I just don't understand how you leave Dwight Howe with off the list. Because at the end of the day, he was the best player at his position for nearly a decade. And I just don't think anybody else on the list, anybody else who was the best player at their position for nearly a decade, everybody else made the list. He took a team to the NBA Finals, and he took them on his back. Like, he was the only, real superstar on that team. Mm-hmm. Now, did they win? No. But, I mean, he had a whole bunch of years of success in Orlando. And then at the end of the day, if you look at his resume, I mean, he's one of the all-time leaders in blocks. He does have the NBA Finals. He didn't really play a whole lot, but, he does have that on his resume, an NBA champion. He does have multiple All-Star games and multiple All-NBA games. I mean, All-NBA on his resume. So I just don't – what else are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point. What I will say is, this is for you or anybody else. It's a 75 list, so if we're putting somebody on, we got to take somebody off, right? If we're just being fair. So –
but then, can I ask you one question before you get started? Because you asked me a question, I want to ask you something. When we talk about the 75 greatest, and you're right, we had to take somebody off.
And I hate to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, I hate to do that too. How do you judge those players that play like in the 40s and 50s and like George Mikan and Bob Cousy and, some of those other guys that play like in the 50s because they were even on the list, so even before Cousy and whatnot.
How do I judge, like in terms of, for these lists? I mean,
yeah.
It's tough. I mean, obviously we didn't see him. I mean, we can look at some highlights and stuff like that. I think what I normally try to do, and would be me if I was a person that was on the panel making the list, I'd have to go to the people that, are closest associated. Like, so basically that just turns out to be some of the older guys. Like I got to listen to the Bob Ryans and those guys, you know what I mean? People that actually saw some of these guys play or were growing up when these guys were playing or their father or stuff like that. So those become nuanced. So I think a lot of it, to answer your question more directly, what people our age should be looking at, or just in this generation, generation before or after us, I would be like, say for the assumptions, like, excuse me, if you're talking about, maybe Wilt Chamberlain's not a great example, but there's a lot of people like, Wilt Chamberlain dominated against plumbers and it was playing, 8 teams and this and that. I'm just going to be honest. Wilt Chamberlain, from all we've known about him record-wise, he was still going to dominate even in this era. Now, was he going to score 100 points? Probably not. Was he going to average 50 or whatever some of the stats? No, it was going to be ridiculous. But was he still going to be an all-time great? I think it's safe to say, right? Like, there's just certain guys you have to do that with. So that's the part. Now, when you start getting to 70s and 80s and stuff like that, now we can have more nuanced conversations.
Yeah, it's more modern basketball per se.
Yeah, so I don't know if that goes for you taking off anybody particular from the list, but I will say in agreement to yours, and I guess you can tell me who you would take off the list in a second, give you to pull that up. But Dwight,
I know one.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna use this example real quick, and maybe I shouldn't say take it off the list, but I would just say, is Dwight Howe not a greater player than Dennis Rodman?
That was one of the ones I was gonna go to, right?
And I like Rodman, but I just
The Rodman thing is tough because, I mean, I know his impact, a lot of it is beyond the stat sheet. You know what I'm saying? So I get that.
Yeah.
But for you to be only a 2-time All-Star and only make 2 All-NBA teams. And now he did win 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and he was.
But Dwight has 4.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I'm just saying, I only say it in terms of there's not a lot of guys that have won multiple Defensive Player of the Years like that. And that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying he's not a trash player. Like,
So
make no mistake about it.
I'm saying, like, in that case, he just may not be the guy that can be removed. Now, The guy that may have to be removed, who I love. Well, first of all, let me just answer the first question. You're actually 100% correct. I know we don't always agree on stuff like this, but it's absolutely actually wild that not only Dwight Howard is not on the top 75 list, he would probably be on the top 50 list. Like, this is not like it's really even isn't even that close to me. When you have a guy that literally was in the conversation for a top 5 player in the league and won 3 defensive player of the years or whatever it was, and that many rebounding champs, and been an all NBA first teamer 5 times, not like just all NBA second team 5 times, like that. You're asking a lot. So I think he's obviously one of those, but one of the ones I kind of go to, I consider Tracy Mcgrady. I mean, when you talk about multiple times touring champs, things like that, but
the thing with Tracy, I just want to say this, the thing with Tracy, and I'm not saying every player on the list, probably some other players have the same issues, but it's going to be like, oh, what is this, postseason resume? Has he ever led a team to that degree? And I know he led the Magic because I'm a Magic fan, so I know.
Right.
I know he was the leader of those Magic team, but they didn't really do anything. So Tracy has that fighting against him.
The only problem with the Tracy Mcgrady thing is, and it's still kind of nuanced. I mean, it's just when you have that many, I should say all NBA teams and things like that, it's tough. But I was even going to go past Tracy Mcgrady. I can live with Tracy Mcgrady being off of it, even though we know talent-wise, obviously, he's one of the best 75 players ever. But I was going Grant Hill. And the thing that people forget about Grant Hill is, and obviously we know now the history with the ankle injuries, things like that, but obviously he was such a great player in a short period of time that we only remember the back half of his career, and we just think about it in a way of what he could have been. But what he already was a 7-time All-Star, was a 4-time All-NBA second teamer, made a first-team All-NBA, right? So what he already was, I think, is worthy of 75 guys, but at the end of the day, the Dwight Howard thing's got to be on there because his resume is better than both of those guys. And when I'm talking about taking somebody off, and I hate to do this, it's my guy, but the Reggie Miller thing is tough. You know what I mean? When you look at Reggie Miller. Yeah, that was
a tough one too.
And, I love Reggie Miller. He's got a great game, and he was a leader of a franchise, but, I mean, he only ever made All-NBA third teams. Now, he did play in a great era of guards, not saying taking anything away. You're playing with Jordan. You're never going to make first team anyway.
And Clyde.
Like, it's just the reality situation. But outside of the All-Star games, he doesn't have as great as Reggie Miller was. He doesn't have a scoring title. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't have a championship. He doesn't have a lot of that postseason. I mean, he's got postseason success, obviously, but not ultimate.
But you know what I will say about Reggie Miller though?
What's that?
He kind of did change the way that the game is played. Like, as far as being a 3-point heavy shooting guard, like just a really that's the main facet of his game. He was one of the first players to do that. So he kind of did revolutionize the game a lot in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how we see Curry doing. I mean, Curry took it to another level. Don't get me wrong. So he revolutionized the game to a much greater degree. But, he's kind of out of the mold of Reggie Miller. When you look at Ray Allen, you look at Klay Thompson, you look at basically how all guards play the game today. It's kind of out of that mold of Reggie Miller. At least a little piece of their game is.
Speaking of out of that mold, Klay Thompson didn't make on the list either. And let me just say this. First of all, I'm going to be honest. I don't want to hear Kyrie should be on the list. Kyrie should not be on the top 75 right now, personally. And the second thing I'm going to say, and I'll get your reaction in a minute. There's guys that should make the list, not make the list, but Anthony Davis should not be on the list, Trey. Like, Anthony Davis should not be on the top 75.
I didn't agree. I agree with that one.
He should not be on the list. And I know, look, I know this is going to sound like a homer, but there's no way that you're going to tell me that Alonzo Mourning is not one of the top 75 players and Anthony Davis is. When Alonzo Mourning's resume is a 7-time All-Star, he's made all NBA teams, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Like that, he's got to be on that list before Anthony Davis.
The only thing I could be thinking of is 2 things that they're trying to project the kind of ahead. Like, even though the list is made,
but this ain't about projecting. That'd be a travesty.
It's not.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think that might be one thing. And 2, Anthony Davis, he does have some weird stats, and I can't pull them off the top of my head, but like PER in the playoffs, like he's one of the all-time leaders. Like, he has a few weird stats like that.
Oh, that just makes him,
Yeah, that just makes him look so much better than what he really is. And he really is a great player. Not good. He's a great player, but he has some stats that make you think he's maybe one of the top 10 players of all times. And for whatever reason, that kind of sways people in these kind of arguments.
And that's my thing. You got to look at these awards. Never won an MVP, never won a Defensive Player of the Year. As great as he is in both of those things, he just has it. I'm just on the resume. I mean, yes, in a vacuum, yeah, you'd pick Anthony Davis over Alonzo Mourning if you're just playing basketball, whatever. But when you look at the resume, that's got to matter. Alonzo Mourning was a leader on a team and the best player on a team that when Anthony Davis was the best player on the team, and now granted, he'd had some better teams, but Alonzo Mourning was the best player on a Hornets team and a Heat team that went deep in playoff runs, not just getting bounced in the first round, right? And what the Heat got knocked out by? Jordan. Like, that's it. Like, so, I mean, this team's that he could have won a championship being the best player. You know what I mean? And then that puts you in a different class. So, there are some guys like that going off. But, yeah, I don't want to hear – I love Klay Thompson, but Klay's just not being a 75 just based on his resume yet. Kyrie, not yet. There's just certain guys that shouldn't be on there. But I think some of the guys – and we're going to be the pod that's going to bring it to you. I know all the people want to be politically correct. Dennis Rodman probably shouldn't be on there. You know what I mean? Some of these guys are – Anthony Davis shouldn't be on there. And the Dwight Howard thing, I mean, he's got seasons that,
Dwight should be over Anthony Davis.
Dwight should by far be over, yeah. That one's a big travesty. I mean, that's unfortunate. But, these lists, are designed to kind of get us feeling. They also put Dominique Wilkins on. I think they kind of felt bad about not putting him on the 50. So –
that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, Neek is one of the top 50 players of all time.
I can go Bill Walton. He just had a couple big years, and then he had the injuries derail him too.
And I don't like players like that because my thing is like you had like a short window, 3 or 4 great years, but then what does that count for?
Right.
Because we're gonna do that in Derrick Rose.
Okay, no. Bill Walton did lead his team to a championship as well too with that.
But what I would say is Derrick Rose ran into the big 3.
I don't know. There would be never there'd be never an argument that Derrick. I'm not. First of all, the Derrick Rose stands. That I don't think you're one of those, but I think he's the greatest thing to slice bread. I just got news for people. I'm just gonna be honest. This may be a hot take, but I know everyone that thinks like, oh, if Derrick Rose didn't get hurt, this and that. I got news for people. He wasn't about to be the best point guard ever. He wasn't about to be a top 5 point guard. He may have not even won another MVP. He would have just been a great player, made some all-star teams, and that would have been it. Sorry, I hate to break it to you.
Top 5 point guard all time.
Derrick Rose?
No, yeah, you saying he wouldn't have been top 5 all time, right?
No, he wouldn't have been top 5 all time. He still wouldn't have been greater than Russell Westbrook. I don't care if he didn't get hurt. I'm sorry. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. He was never as good of an overall player as Derrick. Now he's a more prolific scorer and things like that, and he was great. But he still wasn't all. Now, would he have developed into the all-around game? We don't know. I mean, that's the only part I don't know. But from what I saw,
I'm going to say I think potentially he had.
I don't know. I just think that potential with him just gets overblown because of the injuries and people feel bad. That's just my. I'm sorry. That's just my. That's my thing on it. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I think that's just it, man. That's the reality of it. But anyway, man, I think in general, the list they did. In general, we've been a little bit negative. The list, generally speaking, was pretty good. There's a few, knickknacks here and there. I think Dwight Howard and stuff. But anyway, man, on to something current. Obviously, the game's been going on. Trey, what's up with your boy Ben Simmons, man? What has Ben Simmons got going on now? I know he's got, obviously some mental health stuff that he's been dealing with. And also they said he's got a back injury. I don't know about the back injury thing here, but
Yeah, I don't trust the back injury. But what I'm going to say is I'm going to start off looking at it from a mental perspective.
Right.
There has been some recent reports that he's getting some kind of help. They're kind of vague, but they lead you to believe that it's mental health issues. That's where his help is coming from. Mm-hmm. So I would say, first of all, if I was in his corner, just as a friend, my advice would be, hey, you probably do need to seek some kind of help because, it's obvious,
Right.
We can all look with our own eyes and we see that you're scared. You don't want to shoot the basketball. So at least a sports psychologist said that, that might be something you need. But also, if you're not coming to practice or you just, you're not taking it serious, you're not listening to the coaches, and then you say you're not in the right mindset, to play in front of the fans and whatnot, that's probably a little bit deeper than basketball. So I'm going to, I'm going to hold my tongue at that. I'm going to say, yeah, I really think, our community, I'm going to just say as a Black community, we got to start taking mental health a little bit more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Ben Simmons is he gonna need to work on that. But with that being said, I'm gonna go back to what Shannon Sharp has been saying the whole time. I just don't think he's been going about this the right way. I think that we all know that she didn't want to be there, that she didn't want to play. But I mean, you can still show up to practice. You can still show up to the games. You just don't give maximal effort in the games. Vince Carter did it.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been, James Harden did it. It looks ugly, but at least you're still there. But I still just don't think he's gone about it the correct way.
Well, obviously the Ben Simmons thing is a little nuanced, but I actually want to hit it from another angle. I think the 76ers and Daryl Morey kind of blew it here in a way of they should have, let's just call it what it is. They should have got rid of him before the season started. Like we all knew after that game, he wouldn't come back. After those comments, Doc Rivers made those comments about Ben Simmons, and then of course he went on the whole media tour trying to backtrack what he said, like we wasn't going, like we don't have the original tape, but okay. And they should have known that they can't bring this guy back. He's just not going to be able to play here. He doesn't want to face the fans. Obviously, it is what it is. He's not at that point was refusing to shoot the ball, and not just that layup versus the Hawks in Game 7, but in general, that was what was kind of going on. But you and I have talked about this off air, but the Daryl Morey thing, I think his ego a lot of time gets in the way of what he wants to do. And he's insistent. He wants to get full value for Ben Simmons, and he's going to trade for an all-star player. But the thing I would like to tell Daryl is he's like, well, this can last 4 years. First of all, it's not going to last 4 years. Like there's just you get too much pressure from fans and ownership at that point. You cannot let that last 4 years. The second thing with the Daryl Morey situation is unless you're getting Dame Lillard back, you're not getting equal value. Like that's just the reality of the situation. Like there's
but
not
nobody gets equal value when they trade the superstar.
Daryl Morey seems to think he is. Like that's the problem, and you can't get it. And Trey, to be honest with you, his best chance, like I said, was probably the offseason to get equal value. Maybe when Dame Lillard was ruffling feathers, things like that. Who knows, right? Who knows if they could have pulled the trigger then? But the best you're going to get is CJ McCollum and some picks or something like that. And Daryl Morey doesn't want to do that because he's in a unique situation. And then I'll let you comment on that. Think about it this way. Most times, like the James Harden situation, Houston was going into a rebuild. They kind of knew the window was kind of over, right? Like we knew they made a run at it a couple times. It was done. Philly's in a situation where I understand why he wants equal value. They're still in a championship window. This is Joel Embiid's prime right here. And who knows with his injury history, right? Like how that can derail, right? Like you got to take what you have now. So of course he wants an all-star back. This isn't a situation where you can just stack up a bunch of picks and get some middle tier players because you need those players to contribute right now to a championship run. So I understand his concept of doing that. However, I just don't see that working.
Well, my other issue with it, like you said, you need those kind of players to make a championship run. Daryl Morey, if you keep sitting on this, what it's also going to do, and I don't think enough people are really mentioning, is this is just going to take down the morale of the whole team. Like Joel Embiid is going to start getting frustrated. If I was him, at a certain point,
he was already frustrated. To be fair, too.
Yeah, he was already frustrated, obviously, by a lot of his comments he's made about this situation. But I think he's going to become even more frustrated. And you don't want this to make him start saying, hey, I think I need to start exploring my options. I don't know if this is the right city. That kind of talk.
Right.
And I think that's where we kind of gearing ourselves to go down. Because if the Philadelphia 76ers start to hit a rough patch, if their season starts to really skid, the first thing people are going to go back to is, oh, they should have traded Ben Simmons. He's ruined the team. They don't have anybody for him. Yeah. And Daryl Morey, he's always been known to be the kind of GM not really taking effect, player chemistry and player feelings. And, he just kind of sees them as cogs on a wheel.
Yeah, Mr.
Like
Analytics.
Pieces. Yeah. And I'm just like, that doesn't work in real life. So I don't think he's really taking that into perspective enough.
Yeah, that's the problem. So I don't know how the situation is going to go. I know we talked about this before. Just based on everything you've seen, any timeline you think where he may get moved or even potentially? I just got a few landing spots, but I don't know when.
See, I don't think he's going to get moved this year. I just think if it was going to happen this year, it would already happen.
I think he's going to get moved. I think that the pressure is too much to get him moved. I think that maybe it might be by the deadline, obviously, but they got to get some value back. And I think the Warriors are a good spot for him. I think they want to see what Klay Thompson comes back. And now I don't know if he'll come back before the deadline. That's the only problem. I don't know what his timeline is on that, but that's one of the teams that's out there that you're gonna have to take Kuminga and some picks and kind of roll the dice and do your thing. So
see, I mean, that's a whole other topic, but that doesn't help you.
Right. And that's to say that doesn't help you. That's the best you have. But can Darren Moore really hold on? I mean, this is like a game of roulette or something. I mean, I don't know what it would even be called, but can he really hold on as much as he says? And the best case scenario would be for Ben Simmons is to play, get his value. Well, his value, I don't know if it'd be up or down, but just to play, I think is probably a better situation than that when he does get physically and mentally ready. So, I think that'd be huge for him, obviously. But on to lighter things, Trey, obviously. Speaking of Trey Young, James Harden, not getting the same foul calls. What's going on with that? I know we got the new rule changes for people that haven't realized. If you've watched any basketball games this year, you realize guys flailing their arms and doing stuff crazy. Guess what? Turns out, not always a foul. That's kind of what's going on now. So what's your reaction to it, Trey? Do you like it for the game, not like it for the game? Is James Harden really good? I've heard some wild stuff on the internet, obviously, but just want to get your overall thoughts.
Oh, well, I love it for the game. It was just real annoying to me, like when you would see players launch into another player when they were shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a natural shooting motion. So I thought it kind of slowed up the game. It kind of just made the game kind of mucky. And it didn't really look like basketball. It looked like they were kind of rigging the system, kind of cheating the rules. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of happy they're taking that out. As far as James Harden goes, I don't think that's his main issue because James Harden right now, I mean, he did have a good game last night. So, I guess we will see how this is going to go out.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to drop this pod. He's going to drop 50 points the next game, and we're going to look like ridiculous. But, yeah.
Yeah, so, I got to watch my words carefully. But my main thing with James Harden right now, he just doesn't look quite as explosive as he did in years past. Yeah. I mean, he's not able to get past guards. Or I mean, not guards, but like small forwards or, power forward centers. He's not able to get past them. And one thing about James Harden, I know a lot of people kind of joke about his weight and about, his looks and kind of rugged, but he was really nimble and quick on his feet, and he was able to get past a lot of guards. Mm-hmm. And right now, he just hasn't looked as explosive. Now, if he had issues finishing at the rim, then that would kind of lead me to believe, like, the rule changed. He's not able to get the foul calls, and it's kind of affecting him. But he's not able to even get to the rim at this point.
So here's the thing. I think that there's got to be an adjustment period. I think I do like the rule. However, I mean, you and I both agree. We've watched enough basketball now. There has been some stuff that has been extremely physical that hasn't been called that you probably may be like, okay, I think that's kind of a foul. You know what I mean? I think they got to find a medium because you can't give the defense an advantage. For example, I'm a Heat fan. I watched the Brooklyn game when we played the Heat. And we know how physical Jimmy Butler plays. I mean, I'm not going to lie, Trey. He was hacking. I'm not going to lie. They wasn't calling some stuff. I'm going to be honest. Like, the greatest defense as he plays, Kyle Lowry and him we're hacking and weren't getting called. So they got to even that out. The James Harden thing is, I will give him two things. One, he got to play himself into shape, right? Like, I think some guys just kind of do that. Second thing is, he did make some comments about not trusting his hamstring fully again. So that may, with what you were saying about the explosiveness, that could aid in that. The third thing is, he's been playing the same way for like 7 years, basically, where he didn't really even have to go to the rim. He can kind of do the, what's the, I don't even know what the move is called, Trey. When he wraps his off arm onto somebody else and then gets that. He still does that now, and I feel like it's a habit. You know what I mean? So he's got to adjust to things like that. But, to calm everybody's nerves, he's still James Harden. He still gets buckets. Like, don't get it twisted. Trey Young still gets buckets. Yeah, like, it's not – these guys are too good. They're going to figure it out. I think they're just an adjustment period. But overall, I do like the rule. I mean, I do like the rule of changing some of the things, but we'll get it evened out, obviously, as well. Now, I mean, just touching around the NBA, I don't know if anything surprising has happened for you. Obviously, the Heat are off to a big start. Trey, sorry, we did just beat the Magic last week. I don't know
what's not looking too good.
What's up with the what's up with the Magic, man? I mean, I know that what's up? How they been looking?
Well, I'm gonna keep it real quick because I know most people are not Magic fans, and hey, that's cool. Jalen Suggs really hasn't looked that well. I thought Cole Anthony looked good the other day. Cole Anthony has looked good. but I don't think that's who we expected to look good.
Right.
So that like it's a good thing, but it's just not what we were kind of expecting. And then Franz Wagner, me and Hakeem, we were kind of skeptical on that pick, but he's looked better than Suggs. So
yeah, he's looked good. But the thing with Suggs is like we talked about before, his value is gonna be stuff that's not in the stat sheet sometimes. So I guess we'll have to see. I feel like he's a guy.
Yeah, but his stat sheets haven't looked good.
How's Wendell Carter doing? How's my guy?
I'm not even sure how Wendell Carter's doing, to be honest.
Yeah, man. I mean, I saw it again. They had some fight with the Heat, but sometimes when you with the big dogs, what are you gonna do? So,
yeah, we at the bottom. So, I mean, I really don't care because we're just trying to get
another pick.
Yeah, so that's all we're doing.
And then the Lakers. I know we've just been bouncing around the league, but the Lakers, they've been kind of up and down.
Hold on, we never talked about it. Well, how did you feel about the Anthony Davis shoving Dwight Howard or whatever that was?
Oh, that's right. That was nothing. Here's the thing. I'm just gonna be honest. Dwight Howard's a little annoying. Like he's Trey. He's kind of annoying. Like he's kind of annoying. He was annoying in Orlando. That's why he left. Among other reasons. I know you're not gonna say nothing too bad about him, but I'll be honest. James Harden found him annoying in Houston with all that smiling and looking like he didn't care. And he's annoying in LA. He's a guy that kind of gets under your skin. He does it on the court. And I think Anthony Davis shouldn't have did that in public like that in terms of, what they were going on. But I think at the end of the day, stuff like that happens all the time in sports. Like we've all been a part of sports teams where things like that happens. We're just not all on national television. So I just think it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if you feel any different about it, but yeah,
I didn't think it was a big deal either. Like you said, Dwight has been known to ruffle some feathers. I don't think this was a Dwight Howard issue. I know Stephen A. During the middle of the game, he kept saying, "Oh, Dwight, you're lucky to be in the league," and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, I don't think this is really that much of a Dwight Howard issue. I saw that too.
I think that was a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a lot about nothing. So I really didn't think it was too big of an issue, but I did think it kind of just pointing out that the Lakers have some serious issues, and the reason that Dwight and Anthony Davis might have been arguing so heatedly was because they were losing. And the Lakers, they have some basketball issues more so than just off the court issues.
Right.
The Russell Westbrook fit, it's been an experience. That's how I can say it.
Yeah, we're gonna be floating in and out with that. Like we might have a different take on that every pod. Like that's how that. Yeah, that's how that feels. That's really how that feels. Other than that,
and Russell. Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on. I just want to say one thing too. Now I don't want anybody to take that wrong because Russell Westbrook's my second favorite player in the NBA right now, and he has been for like the last 5 or 10 years. Yeah, but I guess I just never really paid that much attention to how up and down he is until he's on a team that you like. Then it's like, oh no, you.
Yeah, it's really. Yeah, it's really. Yeah, I'm not an OKC fan, so I wasn't tuning in on random Tuesday nights watching him. But yeah, no, it's definitely going to be something, a work in progress for sure. I mean, but yeah, man, I'm excited for the season, obviously. But listen, I did want to talk about. Obviously, we haven't touched base too much on the NFL and what's been going on lately. Deshaun Watson, man. I mean, what are I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do. The trade deadline last Tuesday, so by the time we drop this pod, we'll basically know if he's going to get traded or not. I don't think the Dolphins are going to pull the trigger and do it, but
here's my thing: can they do it? And from a football perspective, you and me have talked off the pod. It makes all the sense in the world, even though I don't think Tua's been given the best shot in Miami. When you have the ability to try to trade for a top 5 quarterback, which he was, at least in my opinion. He was a top 5 quarterback last year.
100%.
For the last couple of years, yeah. You do it. That's the kind of trade you make. The quarterback position is the most important position on the football field. And if you can get a top 5 guy there, why not? But
a top 5 guy in his prime, that just never happens that they're available.
Yes, you're correct. In his prime. And I mean, he's fit for the modern game, able to run, able to throw, just fit for it. But, you got all that other stuff off the field. Are they able to make that trade?
I don't know.
And that's your team. So, would you be mad if they made that trade? Put it that way.
So the Deshaun Watson thing is conflicting, right? Like, I just think and we don't know what the case and things like that. We've already obviously stated that before. So that I think some of that stuff goes without saying, but I'll just state it again, right? I don't know about the case, but some of the things that if anybody's done any research about it, and there's 22 different cases of this case, a lot of them civil, most of them, all of them civil. There's a few now criminal. They're just troublesome, right? Like, so, leading your hometown team is tough. Now, does he help you win games and do things like that? Obviously. So it's like a moral and ethical code thing. But if we're just talking about just football, and just giving up assets, it's just tough for me to give up the assets right now for Deshaun Watson, just because if he really wants to go here, there's multiple things. He has a no trade clause. So for people that don't know, that just means that if you are to get traded, you get to choose which team you'd want to go to, and you'd have to sign off on it. Deshaun Watson has that luxury. It's in his contract. So he does want to go to us. However, does he want to go to us because he just really wants to come to Miami, or it's because we're one of the only suitors that have the available assets? Because in the offseason, we'll find out there's going to be some other teams that are going to be in the market for a quarterback, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he's just going to want to go to the Dolphins or that will be the best trade available, right? So that's the concern, and I understand why the Dolphins would want to pull the trigger now. However, you got a guy with some pending legal situation going on. Even if you do trade for him, there is, and I don't know if people know this trade, but there is nothing that says Deshaun Watson cannot play right away. It would just be up to the league at this point. Like,
yeah, but the league is going to say no.
We don't know, right? Like, that's the talk. We don't know.
Now, man, they're not saying yes.
Right. I was going to say, the Dolphins obviously are going to do their due diligence. They're not going to trade for a guy without asking questions in the league before they even do that. My thing is, if they don't trade for him, it's not – I think that they probably heard from the league that, yeah, if you trade for him, we're going to have to put him here, whatever. But at the end of the day, even if you trade for him and they could suspend a guy for half a season, whatever it is, you still got him under contract and you'd have him there for next year. Like, this season's basically over for the Dolphins at this point. So you at least have the guy on your roster. So if I'm the Dolphins by Tuesday, you asking me gut feeling, I say no. I say you got to give Tua a chance to get a full year, another full year. But, at the end of the day, these decisions are made by, it's going to be by Stephen Ross. Like, he's got to give the cosign for it. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be by the owner. That's going to be one of those things. But other than that, I mean, that's the only really big, trade. I mean, there's a couple of trades for some corners and stuff that may happen at the deadline. But I think we're basically seeing the league being what the league's going to be, the top usually being the top. However, the Chiefs, I mean, they may not make the playoffs, Trey. I mean,
man, the Chiefs are in trouble, but it's their defense.
It's not just but Mahomes with the turnovers too. I mean, they turned it over. I think that's all the stat. They turned it over more through this part of the year than they had all last year or something like that.
He has had a lot of turnovers, but what I will say, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, these are the same throws that he's been making for the last 2 or 3 years. Like, they're just not winding up with the same results. And maybe that's just more him, maybe that's just more of him coming back down to the mean. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we should be arguing that he should have never been able to make these kind of throws and these kind of electric plays. But I don't really think that's the case. I just think that, he is kind of, I don't want to say an off year, but I would just say that his plays are kind of ending up more or less. Those electric plays are in a more negative sense this year than they were positive as in years past. But it's their defense, for the most part. I mean, they can't guard a rock. So,
right.
Of course they're losing.
Right. Well, do you think they're making the playoffs? Yes or no?
No.
They're not making it.
I don't think they're going to make it this year.
Wow. You know how crazy that would be if they didn't make the playoffs? I mean,
we had Mahomes. I think we had him I think we both kind of said, he's probably going to win the MVP, but we want to pick somebody else. And then for our Super Bowl picks, we were like, it'll probably be the Chiefs, but let's say somebody else. Like, we were both kind of just resigned to the fact that Mahomes would be like the quote unquote de facto MVP, even if he didn't win, and the Chiefs would be going to the Super Bowl.
You know what? First of all, I'm going to say they're going to make the playoffs. I don't know how. I actually have no math behind it. Really, no real reason, and nothing that they showed me that they are. But I just would find it so hard to believe. So I don't know, but I will say my MVP pick was Kyler Murray, and he's been balling. Okay, and I think you picked Lamar. I think you may have picked Lamar.
Yeah,
and Lamar has been balling too. So our pseudo MVP picks actually do look good for the most part. So not gonna lie, at this point, odds makers are probably saying one of those two guys is probably gonna win it. At this point, I mean, unless Matthew Stafford or some of these guys come back late. Russell Wilson is another guy, but he got hurt.
Aaron Rodgers has been making a run too now.
Rodgers, maybe Derrick Henry. Can a running back get in? That's always tough.
Running back not getting it. Yeah.
Well, he threw a touchdown pass. I know everybody will say that. He threw a touchdown. He threw one touchdown pass. Nah, man. I mean, I'm excited to see it. You know, obviously the season going forward. I'm excited to get football and basketball going one time. Obviously, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Like we've talked about, you know, each and every podcast. Thank you so much. You know, please just like, subscribe to us, follow us on Instagram. We got a lot of news, things going on. We got a bunch of things coming up for you guys.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Before you go on, I got to thank one of our listeners. You remember they sent in a whole bunch of messages and gave us their opinions.
Yes. That's right. So
yes, I got to thank. I don't know if he wants. I'm not gonna say his name just because I don't know if he wants me to. But thank you.
Yeah.
You know
absolutely.
who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Nolan.
No, I was just saying, yeah, you know who you are. You know, thank you for the feedback. We did get we get a bunch of feedback, but we got an extended feedback with not only just things we can do, but also, you know, basically going through every topic and just
about the discussions we had.
Yeah, giving their opinion, and we love stuff like that. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. This is an awesome point. So, you know, we definitely encourage people to, you know, give us your take. You know, we drop those polls for you guys, things like that. Give us your take. What do you think? You know, we don't care if it's crazy, good, bad, in between. I mean, there's plenty of content going on. So we just thank you guys for even just taking even a little bit of time out of your day to tune into us. So, Trey, man, I'll leave it to you.
So, yeah, with that being said, you know, again, like Nolan said, just want to reiterate the fact, you know, thank you so much for listening. If you do have any kind of opinions or any kind of suggestions or topics or things that can help us, you know, please let us know. Please stay engaged with us. I know Nolan does more of the social media side, but, you know, I know he's real busy on that side. So, you know, please stay involved. And until we meet again, you know, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Peace.